Alrighty, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Today is April 5th, 2021, Monday after Easter here for us in the US. I've been having some issues with my camera, so I'll be joining you without a camera today. But nonetheless, we'll be getting some trades going. We'll be getting, our usual setups done and executed. The disclaimer up top has already, executed for you. You should be able to see it right there. Um, this is a futures now. We'll be looking for intraday trades today on, as I said, April 5th. My name is Bojan Petreski. Go by Bo. Easy to say and remember. And then, of course, my email is right here, boyan@tradictive.com. If you haven't already, please take a look at the link right here, tradewithufos.com/Boyan. This link you can utilize to sign up for the free membership for the channel, as well as take a look at any questions that you may have, any sort of questions that you may have might already be answered over there, which is kind of the more important aspect of this link, as well as to kind of get in better touch with us here at the channel. Moving on with the agenda. So, we are simulcasting, as you may or may not be aware. So, we're broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, and, more to come in the future. The private streams, which are on the tradewithufos.com/live, will continue throughout the session because as we've shared before, the public channels, the free ones, will be going on up until we find one or two trades, depending on how quickly we get those done and executed, and then we'll be moving on to the private stream here. There may be a slight video lag because, again, that's just how the internet works. Simulcasting on at the same time. You may be a few seconds behind here or there, depending on where you're joining us. And then, of course, last but not least, please utilize the chat box. Whether you're on Vimeo or on Facebook or on YouTube, utilize the comments or chat box to let me know if you have any questions, any comments, or if you just want to, share something you're doing, or share a question that you may have, or something about the trade that we're doing, and so on. Please feel free to use that, or even just to say hi and hello and so on and so forth. Please feel free to do that. So, all right, go ahead. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna we're looking at all these things that are showing up here on the PowerPoint for you, right? We're looking at what the market environment is. We're going to look at some previously executed trades, closed trades, which I do track in our UFO trades folder. We did have quite a few trades actually last time. Of course, the last time that we were together was basically 2 weeks ago, so on the 22nd. We're going to go ahead and look at those, see how we did, see what happened. We did have a couple of trades on crude oil. I think, it was a gold setup and exit, and then we had a euro contract setup and exit, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that did not fill but would have gone, well past T2. So let's go ahead and get started with those. So the first one that we did saw was the crude oil trade, right? By the time we ended up taking that screenshot, it actually the UFO disappeared, right? So I just ended up drawing it on there. So the exit for that one, I believe, was a time stop, or no, that one was the a stop out, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So we went long. We were looking to get long. We ended up getting stopped out at 61.59 there. So that one was a quick, it didn't let us do anything with the time stop rule that we have. So that one was an out. The second setup that we did have, which was setup number 2 here, this one was on the 60-minute time frame. This one also, did open up, had a bit of positive, and then ended up moving, strongly against us. Do I not have the screenshot of this? No, I don't. Okay, so this one I do remember because I took myself, and I know that this was definitely a stop out. I logged it into my log. I must have not taken the screenshot and saved it into the folder, but this one also worked against us that day. And then we had the euro setup, right? This setup was just absolutely beautiful. We did not get on board. It did not fill us. and then euro just soared on up. I mean, it was a beautiful trade. Unfortunately, I think it was either 2 or 3 ticks that it missed us for and did not get us on board. So unfortunately, this one did not fill, which is okay. That's just how life is sometimes. Um, Set up an exit on GC mainly because it was a time stop. Right, we saw it went up a little bit, down a little bit, so it was a time stop. I think it was a $20 loss or something like that. So it was nothing out of the ordinary. We see this all the time. All right, so that pretty much closes off the trade review for these closed trades. No open trades as of right now. I mean, if as I've said before, if we have an open trade that has turned from an intraday to a swing trade, we'd be deep into green, because obviously if we're trail stopping a trade and it's still going our way after a whole week, which could definitely happen. Um, then we'd be looking, where we're looking at, what's upcoming, what's against us. Do we need to do any other further analysis to such a trade? But as of right now, we simply don't have a trade like that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start looking for new opportunities. I'm going to open up my workspace here, the short time frame workspace, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm not seeing any chat. Oh, there's Tony. Hi, Tony. There we go. I got you there. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on YouTube. I am gonna put these side by side. I actually, for some reason, my Facebook just closed. That's a little odd. I'm not quite sure why. All right, there it is. Okay, we're good. Okay, so yeah, we're all set on that, and I'm just looking over here just to make sure that there's no. There we go. Perfect. All right, folks. So whether or not you've joined me on these sessions today, as you know, we're very kind of we're very strict with what we even look at, and something that comes to mind is that I always explained in the beginning is the fact that we need to be very rule oriented, very disciplined when it comes to trading. Otherwise, there's a good chance that we're gonna either lose our account or just lose our heads. So the first thing that we need is to make sure that we're opening a chart that has a confirmed climate, right? That is either a sensible short, something like this, or a sensible long, something like this, right? We're going to give priority to the ones that are flashing as near sensible long or near sensible short, as long as it's confirmed, so not this one. But we have permission to essentially open any one of these charts that is confirmed and is a sensible climate, right? We can certainly open the hopeful ones if you really want to, but I myself don't trade that way, and what I'm showing you right now is what I do on my own time, essentially. So um, we're gonna go ahead and open this. The only one that's currently a sensible and confirmed, which is a 60-minute gold time frame. So we're gonna go ahead and open up our workspace. Go to gold 60. All right. And I'm just going to pop open this. There we are. All right. This is still on the April. The easiest way that we check this stuff is by going to here. So most active, you go to metals. And we see that the gold has gone to the June 21 contract or the GCM 21. So we're going to go ahead and put at GCM 21. And here we are. All right. So we're looking at gold, the 60-minute, and just off the top of my initial look here, we don't have a trade as of this exact moment. The reason why I say that we don't have a trade is because of a couple of reasons. We have 1726.8 being the moving average number, being the value of the moving average. At 1726.8, or let's just call it 17, around this 27 area, we simply do not have a single UFO on any one of the charts up here. Now, I'm seeing a pretty strong pullback from this area, right? That moving average area. So I'm going to just keep an eye out on this just to see if maybe a new UFO will form. It definitely could happen as we're looking at this stuff, right? Because think of it this way, right? The shear bar and the tick bar charts, they're not time related, right? They're just, quantity related. Like how many shares, how many contracts are exchanged at these price levels. The ticks as well. How many times does it tick up, tick down? So they move at a different speed than the time-based chart, the 8-minute chart, right? So we utilize these two to give us these opportunities so we can, potentially execute a trade. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because, we certainly could see, especially around this, you see this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You see this big wick up here and then a new formation up there. So we most certainly could see, a UFO form right here with the bottom of this wick and the top of this area right here, and that there are unfilled orders there, right? So we certainly could see that because again, we're seeing a pretty strong move up. You see, like if there was a UFO, this would have been the perfect time to get in. We would have been in around this 1726, probably 8 area, so only 3 tick adverse, and already past probably T1. But of course, we're not. I'm just analyzing it as if we were. All right. And I'm also just trying to, see if there's going to be anything else that shows up. Here we go. Same thing, gold on the 15-minute time frame right now. Let's go ahead and open up gold on the 15-minute time frame, which does tend to move a little, quicker. All right. And see what's going to happen here. GCM 21. Here we are on gold on the shorter time frame. Similar kind of a picture, unfortunately. 1728 is the moving average value. 1728 is the moving average value. 1728. No UFOs on either side because 1728.1 being the area, the UFO where we would be looking to enter on. So that's where that is. Unfortunately, right now we're not seeing it. Any setups. However, just kind of preparing in the next minute or so, we're going to see an update to the climate. So I'm just going to take this moment here to sip some water. In the meantime, folks, feel free to say hi, or if you have any questions, feel free to type them up. Tony, I follow the rules and log my trades, including comments on what happened. Had a bad month last month, but about 80% mentioned ally UFO disappearing. This included a trade I did with you 2 weeks ago. I understand this happens, but 80%. About 80% mentioned an out. Okay, so 80% of the time, you're saying that you're getting your ally UFO disappears, right? So Tony, that's completely normal and fine. The reason why it's completely normal and fine is because this is a, not just a proprietary technology, but it reacts to the market and how it moves, right? So let's say, it's a lot easier to explain than to just, say out loud. Um, it's absolutely normal, if not, I would say expected for that to happen. So what we could see is, let's say this price, let's just, let's just take a quick look here to see if there's been any updates to the climates here. All right, nothing has been updated, so I have permission to explain. So let's say the following happens, and I'm just going to blow this chart up a little bit bigger just so I can explain this a little bit better, right? So let's just say, for the sake of the argument, we're saying, you know what, we're gonna go ahead and enter right here on the top of this UFO. 1724.7 is our entry, right? Let's just draw a horizontal line there, right there, so it's clear, right? Where does our stop go, right? Can you tell me where the stop goes? What number we would put for this in the chat? Right here, 1726.4, right? 1726.4, right? Because the UFO ends at 1726.5. I'm going to go ahead and color this red. All right. I'm going to draw another parallel, and we're going to call it exactly right there, right below the green. 1727.4 minus 1726.4. It is exactly one point, right? So what does that mean? That means that our T1 should be right here, right? That's our T1. T1, right? So that's our entry, our stop, everything like that. And look at this gold moving, man. My God, how does it not leave a UFO for us? I feel left out on big moves like this. Anyways, so that's our T1. Right here below is our entry. That's our entry, and this is our stop right here, right? So what do we expect to happen? Right? Well, just for the sake of the argument, we're saying, you know what? As this is moving, I would like, price to come here and then obviously go to my T1, right? Now, 80% of the time, like you said, 20% of the time, based on your analysis, 20% of the time, exactly, this basically happens, right? It touches that point and then it may go straight to T1. So 20% of the time, more or less, this could go either way. But if your analysis says 80% of the time the ally UFO disappears, that would mean that 80% encompasses basically the stop outs as well as what I'm going to show next. But 20% of the time, that means that this happens. That means that it touches this UFO. This darker circle, the higher concentration, is still there, or it comes closer to it, right, but doesn't hit it. This darker circle right here is not hit. So that means 20% of the time this happens, right? The other percentage can be broken down as the following, right? You could go from after getting filled. So right, so exactly. So then a percentage of the time this might happen, right? A percentage of the time this might happen. What does that mean? That means once this darker area gets filled, this UFO is filled, right? So those orders that were outstanding, those unfilled orders that we're trying to anticipate and see where they are, they got filled. So that UFO is now gone. So that means the orders that were at this area are no longer there, and the software detects that, and that is why it takes out this UFO. So we expect that to happen, right? It would be phenomenal. Holy crap! Look at this. Wow. Anyways, so we expect this to happen much more often than this, right? But also much more often than this, right? A straight stop out. So, yes, the majority of that time that you said, the 80% of the analysis that you did, which is phenomenal that you're doing that analysis, that's how you get to where you need to get to, is by doing that analysis, by logging those trades and realizing, hey, this happens so and so much of time. And then you come into the channel and you say, hey, how come this is happening? Well, that's happening because we're expecting it to happen. We're betting on, we would love to see this. We expect this to happen. But at the same time, we also understand that this could happen. So those are the the three scenarios, right? That could happen, right? Scenario 2 and 3 will make the UFO disappear, which is the majority of the time, right? The majority of the time, you're going to get a deeper fill, a little bit in the red, and then it's going to pop up a lot. Sometimes you're going to see it's going to touch your entry, get you in, and then boom. And then sometimes it's just going to go straight through. And that's just how trading is. So, as I said, 80% of the time that happening, it is quite expected. And boy, am I glad to be a part of this market today, right? Lots of movement. Always good to see. All right. So let's see if there's anything. I mean, look at this move. Holy cow. All right. So, obviously we were not on board on it, but we were looking to get on board to see what's going to happen. And unfortunately, nothing so far. But not only that, as of right now, it's on the 6th out of typically 5 15-minute candles up. So what does that mean for us? Well, unfortunately, as of right now, this is in hopeful territory, so we're not going to go ahead and take this. Let me take it take a look at the 60-minute one. 60-minute one is actually looking good. And as I said earlier, we are expecting some UFOs to form right there, and they did. All right. So let's see what we can come up with right here. Do we have a potential entry? I believe we do. 1727.6 being the moving average, 1732.2 being the current price. So as of right now, we could actually get in on this at 1730.2 with the stop well below 1726.4. Now, a disclaimer, so to speak, right now from this setup is the following. If you are going to take this, unless you have the account size to take on a big risk trade like this, please definitely take this with the micros. Do not take it with the mini. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put my order entry up here at 17. Let's just take a look at which one is actually higher. So this one starts at 1730.2. And this one, of course, I ended up moving the UFO. So let me just reload the data. All right, this one starts at 1730.2 as well. So let's go ahead and put our entry right here, 1730.2. All right. Now, one other thing that we need to do as of right now is to move our stop down to 1726.4 right there. Now, how much are we risking on this trade? 30.2 minus 26.4. That's 3 points. That's $380 per contract. I would not take this trade with the mini. I would definitely not take it with the mini. I would take it with the micros. This is a 60-minute chart. This will take a while to develop and move. Now let's go ahead and put our T1 is at 34. So our T1 is at 34. And now this one, I'm just going to move up here for now and then take a look at my lower chart here on the 60-minute and see if we have a UFO up above. And if so, where it is. Oh boy. All right, so let's see. This went as high as 1733.9. Let's make this bigger. 1733.9 is within this UFO. So unfortunately, unless price touches this UFO up above, we're not going to be taking this trade. All right. So what we need to happen is, according to our rules, we need this price to touch this UFO and then come down to fill us. Then it's okay to place the our final target at the one up above here. But we need it to be within this UFO or have touched it on the last candle to be able to take this trade. Otherwise, our T2 needs to be right here at 17. What was it? 1733 point something. Hold on. We'll take a look right now. All right. So this UFO starts at 1734.3. All right, so it's only 3 ticks above our T1. That could definitely work. Um, but we're risking quite a bit. I mean, this trade does not make two to one. Um, this is like 1.1 to one. So from the technical aspect of it, you can certainly take this trade. But what I would like to see is another push up, so that we get into this UFO and then it pulls down and fills us. Okay, that would be the optimal scenario here. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel this trade. We'll see what's going to happen as we go along. Okay, so looking at all of these, I mean, all the ATRs are so far. Unbelievable. Last Monday, we were fighting over which trade to take. And, today we're, fighting to get a trade in. So let's see I guess we just got to get going through some of these sensible ones. Um, the ES is just extremely overextended, currently on the seventh hourly candle out of typically nine. So I guess you technically do have 2 hours, but it's three ATRs away. So it's a very bullish day. Obviously, we're already up 1.5%. I'm sorry, 1.2 on the ES, 1.5% on the NQ. That S&P 4,000 number has not only been taken, but it's going on up to all time highs again. So nothing to do there. Everything else is in hopeful territory. Sensible short on the crude oil, but again, one ATR, 1.27 ATRs away. Current candle is the current candle is the second one out of typically the current hourly candle is the second out of typically eight. So we could take a look at this and see if there's a potential setup on crude oil. Obviously, crude oil is tanking quite a bit. I mean, we're already down 3.5% for the day. So it could pull back and just keep on going down. But it's kind of a coin toss at this point, if anything. Looking at, we already looked at gold. We already talked about the ES. NQ is kind of the same story. Unconfirmed. All of this in hopeful territory. All right, so I'm gonna hold off on opening any more charts, just because we're just not seeing any sort of action, any sort of activity on the markets today. So we're gonna go ahead and wait for about another 40 seconds or so to see what the updates on these climates will be. But looking at what's going on right now, I don't think anything will change based on what I typically see. Right, the ATR needs to be in the negative to see a change in the climate, or very close to it, so it has a change in the climate. But as of right now, given that everything's trending pretty strongly, there's probably not a whole bunch that we'll be able to see change. And if that remains the case, we're going to go ahead and look at crude oil and RTY to see what kind of activity we're looking at. Yep, exactly. Just we just had the 30-minute hit, and not a single thing has changed except for that the current value is a little higher. This is near hopeful short, but again, it's hopeful, so I don't really want to look at that. So let's go ahead and look at the 60-minute crude oil and RTY. All right, so the 60-minute crude oil and RTY. Okay. So the RTY and crude oil are all set and done here. Let's take a look at the the energies for crude oil. It's on the K still. That's where the volume is. See the M starting to pick up a little bit of volume, but we're still on the K, so we're good on that one. I just need to have it scaled properly. Obviously, it's still looking at the 50s, at the 60s over here. So let's go ahead and get this set up properly. And gonna disable that. All right, there we go. All right, so what do we have on crude oil? So crude oil, hit those mid 60s and has since tanked quite a bit. Right now, it's 60 cents away from the moving average, as we see here, 59.97. We are looking at a confirmed down climate. Now, the point of entry at 59.97 is actually within this UFO. I'm sorry, it's actually not within this UFO. It's 59.94. 59.94. Okay, so yeah, we do not have a trade set up on this one, mainly because if crude oil does pull back 60 cents, we're still going to be, above these UFOs. So it's just a matter of, picking and choosing, folks. And, this one I'm just going to choose not to do anything with because this is just not going to work. All right, so looking at the next one, we have on the currencies, RTY, which is staying on the June. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure you heard my little one in the background. So just trying to get through this session, see if we can get any trades going or not. So why am I looking at not the currencies? We need the indices for RTY. We're on the M contract. So at RTYM 21. There we are. Okay, so we're looking at 22.71.6. 22.71.6 is our moving average. That's around here somewhere. No UFOs there. No UFOs up here as well. Now this one does look a little promising. 22.72.26. So this one does definitely look promising, mainly because, as price pushes up, it'll most likely push up to here around this area. So what I'm going to do is heating oil on the 15.2, it appears on my radar screen. I didn't see heating oil, or maybe I just don't have it here. I mean, I don't have heating oil on my end, Tony. But again, if you have some different stuff on yours, that's a different story. Yeah, I actually am liking this trade right here, 22.76.2. And the reason why I'm saying at 22.76.2 because I do want to kind of mitigate my risk a little bit better. The more aggressive entry would be down at the start of this UFO, right? Which is 22.72.3. So that value right there, 22.72.3, is the value of the more aggressive entry. I am trying to kind of line up my entry and minimize my risk by actually entering where the start of the unfilled orders are, which is somewhere around this 22.76.1 area, which is what this number represents here. So I'm essentially eliminating close to 4 points of risk on the Russell. So my entry is going to be right here at 22.7610. So I'm going to go ahead and put my trade in at 22.7610, not 4, just 2. All right. Now, my stop needs to be way up above at 22. It's going to be at 82.3. So that's my stop. It looks like it's right on the UFO, but if you blow it up a little bit like this, you'll see it's a tick above. Now for my exit, my T1, my safety target, 282.3 minus 276.10 is 6.2 points. Okay. And again, this is, bear in mind, like this is also a bit of a higher risk trade. So definitely taking it down to 6.2 points. So this will be at 50. So looking at this, we have to go from 276.10. So 269.9. I was just double checking that. I'm like, I know it's 269.9, but all right. So that's our T1. Now for our T2, obviously, we got to open up our UFOs down below on this 60-minute time frame. And we're seeing that our T1 is fine over there, but our T2 is a very optimal target of 2219.7. All right, so that's quite a ways away. I mean, it would be phenomenal if we get it, but again, with most of the time, as we know, these either end up being trail stops or something along the lines of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and enable chart trading here and edit this trade from here to 2219.2. Replace that order. Yes. All right. So that's our trade setup here. Obviously, this is on a longer time frame, on a longer term time frame type of a trade. So I'm going to go ahead and screenshot this. I'm going to leave it open for as long as it makes sense and see what's going to happen. So 2021 0405 RTY setup. So that's that. In the meantime, I doubt anything else has been going on. So it's a bit of a slower day, folks. It's quite all right sometimes to, kind of see these days happen in front of you. So you know that sometimes you'll be kind of really, really just scratching around to get a trade. Sometimes the trades will just, as soon as you open the platform, they'll be right in front of you. I mean, it happens so often that sometimes you wake up and then boom, you haven't even had your first sip of coffee yet, and there's a trade in front of you, you're executing it. And sometimes you can spend 2, 3, 4 hours in front of the computer and not a single trade will be in front of you. And that's okay. That's just how trading is. That's as long as you follow your plan, as long as you don't try to bend some rules just so you can get into a trade. Right, then you introduce chaos into your trading, and nothing good comes out of that. Believe me when I tell you, from personal experience. Now, we've basically gone through the majority of the session. Obviously, we haven't executed a single trade, so I'm just going to keep the session running on both the public channels and the private stream. As a rule of thumb, as soon as we execute and close one trade, we end up closing up the free streams. But in the meantime, if you have any other questions or comments or anything that you want to mention, please feel free to go ahead and type it up in the chat. As I said, I have all three open on my other screens here, so definitely let me know if there's anything you want to see. In the meantime, I did want to take a look at the so here we go, the sensible short on crude oil, because it's only one ATR away and it's on the second out of typically four, so it's halfway through on this 240-minute time frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and open that. Oh, not a new workspace. I want to open an existing workspace. There we go. Crude oil 240, just to see what's available. So there we are. So for crude oil on this time frame, oh boy, we have a massive, massive UFO over here. I mean, this is just there's no easy way to cut this, basically. Um, it's this UFO is here. It meets the entry criteria, right? The moving average is enveloped by this UFO. Unfortunately, you know, this starts at 59.57 and goes all the way up to 60.67. So that's 90-cent UFO. That's a $900 UFO. That's just not something that I'll ever take, nor would I recommend for you to take. Even trying to cut it in half with the QM, with the half contract, it would still be excessive risk, right? So I would try to think, maybe, I was trying to say, like, hey, let's enter at the darker circle of the UFO, right? The one where the 59.74 starts, but that is still, so far away that it just simply does not make any sense for me to recommend any such things to you. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this workspace as well. So RTY is doing what it's doing. It's not moving a whole lot. That was kind of expected. Um, the moving average is still around the 2270 area. Um, the 15-minute time frame will give us some updates shortly, in about a minute or so. But looking through all of these, right, not a whole lot is happening. Gold is seeing some selling pressure here at this 1732 area, but this launching point was just so nice. Tony, so the reason why is because several of these instruments that we're looking at here simply don't have that type of liquidity to be able to utilize a 15-minute time frame climate, right? So realistically speaking, you can put all of the 60-minute time frame. Yes, I'm sorry, and I should probably just read the question first, right? That I have several contracts under the 50-minute time frame on the radar screen, but more of them on the 60 and even more on the 240. So the reason why that is the case is because of the volume in these contracts, right? So the volume that crude oil, the indices, the euro, gold, and actually those are the seven, basically that we're looking at, simply have a lot more volume compared to what the 10-year might have versus the ES, or the yen might have versus the euro, right? It's just simply a matter of the liquidity being there. You can certainly put all of them on the 15-minute time frame climates, um, but again, we would just not see the type of movement that we would like to see and the type of backtesting that we would like to see on these instruments. So that the reason why we have less on the 15-minute time frame, because there's only so many of these, popular instruments, let's call them, but there's only so many. There's only so many contracts out there that are being traded on all of these, versus some of these other ones that are traded on the 60-minute and the 240-minute climates. So, but hey, that's a great question to put on the trade with UFO slash Boyan right here. So definitely, definitely do that. I would love to, I'm sure that that might be a question that others may have as well. Excuse me. So definitely go to the website here on tradewithufos.com/Boyan and go ahead and get that question in, right? As you see, there's quite a few answers or questions and answers here already. So definitely take a look and let me know what you think. Put that question in there. That's a really really great question. Thank you so much for asking it. I bet you that there's at least a few other people who are utilizing our instruments have had the same thing. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. Go ahead and ask the question on the website, and we'll get an answer out to you. We have a both support staff, and then we also have veteran traders that trade this stuff. Um, so definitely get that question out there on the website, Tony. I really do appreciate it. We'll find out if there's a standard volume requirement for them to get relisted or listed onto the 15-minute time frame climate. Folks, as you see, we're just kind of, honestly speaking, just hanging out right now. We're not doing a whole bunch. Everything is kind of trending, so there's nothing that's close to restarting or close to um, being pulled off. As you see, I mean, and the reason how I determine that, how I say that, is the following: you take a look at this ATR spread, right, and you take a look at all of this here. So all of these values, right? The only one that's going to have an update most likely is going to be the US. How do I know that? Right here, this negative value in a confirmed climate. A negative value in a confirmed climate really just means that this instrument is now above the moving average, the 9 EMA that we're using to determine our entries. And the reason why it's negative is because it's trading above it when it's in a down climate, or if it's negative in an up climate, in a blue climate, right? It's trading below the moving average. So that's a very quick and easy way to determine that. Now, what we want is some of these values to come, lower, right? Everything that we're seeing here is one ATR away, more than one ATR away. Not to mention some of these 60 minutes are 3, 4, and up. So what we want to see is something like this negative US, or like this negative on silver, so we can open up that chart and say, hey, let's take a look at this and this and this and see what's going on. Obviously the 60-minute time frame is going to update in 11 minutes from now, past our typical session time. But we can certainly take a look at it and see if there's anything going on, because it would be nice if it reconfirms, because as you see, this is not only you know excessively extended, right? More than double what it goes for, right? So I'm sorry, the down deviation is 7, right? This is the number, not the up, so you can disregard this. So it typically the 30-year typically goes down for 7 60-minute candles down, and it's currently on its 14th. So it typically goes down for 7 hours. It's currently on the 14th hour down. Obviously, we're seeing some really powerful movement on the equities, which is why it's impacting these the 30-year note as such to this extent. But again, we're just looking at what the numbers are giving us, and the numbers are currently saying, hey, this stuff is not um, tradable right now, but be on the lookout because of this negative value on the ATR. So just kind of giving you like what typically goes on in my head when I see these types of history and I see something like this. I open up my charts and I open up my TradeStation and I see this in the morning. I'm just gonna go do something else. right? I'm not just gonna stare at the screen every second of every hour just until I can get this. But as soon as the time, 9 a.m. hits for me, or noon in New York, right? I'm gonna open it again and say, hey, did we get any sort of new opportunities? And if that's the case, I'm gonna say, okay, let's get into it. But if it doesn't, then I simply won't be wasting my time. And then the same thing for the 15-minute ones. Just take a look at it every 15 minutes or so. Or if you want to prepare yourself for it, right? When any of these either hit close by or are negative, then you can say, okay, I'm going to open up this chart, take a look at it, and say, hey, let's say this YM was negative zero point 0.1 or something like that, right? Then you can say, you know what? Let me take a look at this. This might turn to a down climb soon, so I can actually take a trade and execute on it, and have my homework done ahead of time. Like, where's my final exit? Right. That's something that sometimes could take a few minutes. That by the time you end up executing the trade, that the trade might already move, and then you're not on board. Right. So that's something to consider. Tony, I agree. Yeah, many of the currency futures are very liquid, right? It's just some of them are that much more liquid than others, right? Okay, so RTY is actually also turning green right now, so the mid caps are also pulling up a little bit, right? The NQ is the tech sector is definitely leading the charge at 1.7% up. The ES is following closely in its tracks. The S&P 500 at 1.4% up for the day, right? These are big days, big numbers. And then RTY turning green as well. So that's very, very, um, you know, interesting to see, because again, it was, I believe, when we did start the session, RTY was a little bit in the red. Obviously, it's kind of dancing around, going into positive. So typically, that's just how things go, right? When the market pulls up, it typically pulls the rest of it up. You tried to post a question on the page, but you got an error message and won't accept your question. Um, Tony, that's a little strange. Can you go ahead and screenshot that and send me an email with it? I want to send it to support and see what's going on with it. Joe, so the difference between CL and QM is actually right. So it does trade at 1250 a tick, but the QM, if I'm not mistaken, trades in quarters of a tick. It doesn't trade in a point 10. Now, I remember this. I haven't traded the QM in a long time, but basically, again, I'm not trying to open a new workspace. So the QM, I don't think I have it here anymore. No. So I'll open the 15-minute time frame on CL. QM trades less than the CL, right? It definitely does trade less than the CL, but it's half. It's not like with the micros where it's a tenth. For example, on the ES, it's $50 a point, whereas the micro is a tenth of that per micro contract. With the CL and QM, that's not the case, right? So let's just open at QMK21. Right, so you see how it goes in 0.025, 0.05, 0.075. It doesn't go as crude oil does for every cent. It goes cent 25, cent 50, cent 75, 2 cents, right? So that's basically the difference. So that's how you can get to half the value of crude oil. So that's basically what I was trying to say earlier, is that you can go with, it's half the position. The QM is half the position of crude oil, but it's not a tenth like the micros. So even taking that big giant UFO, you would have gone from a $900 risk on the trade to 450, which is, again, it's um, excessive risk if you ask me. Um, yeah, hope that answered that question. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and close this. I'm not gonna save. All right, we have a near sensible long on silver. All right, so silver. I have not traded silver in who knows how long. Let's take a look and see what silver's giving us. So silver is confirmed. Is it on the K though? That's the first thing that we gotta check. Is it on the K? Silver is on the July contract. Sin, SIN 21. Uh, is it not? Wait a minute. No, what am I? SIK. It is on the K. I skipped. I skipped this right here. Yeah, 27,000. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, look at this. 27,000 on silver, right? Copper, 40,000. Gold, 81,000 volume, right? So that's what I was trying to say earlier is that there's a ton more volume in this contract than there is in these guys. All right, so let's take a look at SIK 21, SIK 21, which is what I think was loaded already. So let's take a look at crude oil. I'm sorry, crude oil is in my mind. Let's take a look at silver. For silver, I'm going to have to go in TradingView to figure out the risk to reward because I can never remember what silver trades at. Oh, but this is looking very ugly right here. Hold on a minute. Let's reload the data. Silver is between the price. Okay, so it's got enough room. That's fine. I thought it was like touching both ends, and I'm like, I don't want to trade this now. Let it develop and then figure it out. But okay, so 24,795 is the moving average on silver. We're looking to get in long. 795 is within this UFO here, but on the low end. No. Yeah, if price were to drop down to this, right, the more aggressive entry point will be right here at the top of this UFO, which the top of this UFO is 24.845, right? So that would be the aggressive entry point, 24.845. So that would mean, so how many ticks is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's about 10 or 11 ticks down. I think it's actually going to get out of this UFO. So 795 is the current moving average. So as price falls down, I think it's going to miss this UFO by at least 2 to 3 ticks. So and the higher concentration being up here, I would say, yeah, definitely don't take this trade. We're going to go ahead and pass on it. I'm going to go ahead and save it. I just saw an alert on gold. Okay, so it's hopeful long, right? So when something like this happens and it's flashing near hopeful long, then there's a good and the ATR is still kind of high, but we could potentially look at it and say, hey, you know what? Let's say this thing starts wearing out. Where could I potentially enter this trade to the short side? And the reasoning behind that would be is if this really does fall down below the moving average, and look at that, a 15-minute UFO just formed as well as a 2-minute up here. And then, of course, we have all the rest of the climates popping up right now. There's silver again. Yeah, nothing else, guys. I'm sorry, but this is a very, very, very slow day today. So RTY, the way we have it here, 2276, 53. See, already moved down to 66. So the entry might actually be closer to this 70 area right now, where I'm going to leave it on, but I'm going to see what's going to happen with it if it's going to meet criteria or not. All right. So we're just going to leave this on. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and close off the day. The reason why I was saying I wanted to look at the 15-minute is if this starts trading below the moving average, right, we could potentially enter on a newly formed sensible climate on some of these UFOs that are being left here. As you see, these traces of unfilled orders. Right, that's what I'm trying to get at. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining me on this Monday morning for me. I hope you found this session helpful. I know it was a lot slower than what we had, 2 weeks ago. But again, sometimes we'll have these, and that's okay. All right, so thank you very much again. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.